Welcome to Deep Dive. Welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. Let's dive in and grow together.
Welcome to Deep Dive, where we dive deep into fascinating subjects. This time, it's Swami Vivekananda, specifically his approach to Karma Yoga. We've got a copy of his book, Karma Yoga, right here, ready to go.
You know what's amazing about this book? It's not just some relic from the past of Vivekananda's ideas about Karma Yoga. They're just as powerful today as they were over a century ago.
Okay, I gotta admit, I know the name Vivekananda, but I couldn't tell you much about the guy. Fill us in.
So picture this. Calcutta, 1863, a time of massive change in India. That's when Narendranath Dada, that was his birth name, enters the scene.
Narendranath Dada, got it.
And this guy, from a young age, he's a total knowledge sponge. Philosophy, history, art, you name it, he devoured it. But here's the thing, alongside all that intellectual stuff, he was super drawn to spirituality too. Tried out different religions, practiced meditation.
So he wasn't just reading about it, he was actually walking the walk.
Exactly, and then comes the turning point. He meets Ramakrishna.
Okay, Ramakrishna, refresh my memory.
Ramakrishna was like the mystic, the spiritual rock star of his time. He becomes Narendranath's guru, his spiritual guide. Under Ramakrishna, Narendranath goes through this intense transformation, ultimately becoming Swami Vivekananda.
Wow, so this wasn't just a casual mentorship, this was life-altering stuff.
Totally. And after Ramakrishna passes away, Vivekananda goes on this epic journey across India. He sees the real India, the struggles, the diversity, the whole picture.
Probably like his own personal deep dive.
You got it. And this experience shapes him deeply. He feels this urge to uplift people, to make a real difference. But hold on, there's more. He doesn't just stay in India.
Yeah, didn't he go to America?
Yep. 1893, he travels to Chicago for this huge event, the Parliament of World Religions. And get this, he represents Hinduism.
Wow, bold move.
Oh, and his speech. He starts with Sisters and Brothers of America. The crowd goes wild, they're captivated. He basically introduces Vedanta philosophy to the West.
A young monk from India, blowing minds in America. That's got to be a story for the ages.
It was huge. This was the start of Vivekananda's mission to bridge East and West. He ends up founding Vedanta societies in the US and the UK, spreading his teachings far and wide.
A real spiritual ambassador.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get back to yoga, because I know he didn't just talk about one kind of yoga.
Right. Vivekananda laid out a framework of 4 yogas, 4 different paths to self-realization: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, and Jnana Yoga.
4 paths, that's a lot of options. Are they all totally separate?
He saw them as complementary, actually, like different sides of the same mountain, all leading to the same summit.
I like that analogy. Okay, but for this deep dive, we're sticking with Karma Yoga. So what's the deal with Karma Yoga? What makes it unique?
Karma Yoga, it's the yoga of action. It's about navigating the world, all the doing and achieving, without getting caught up in desires and attachments. Think of it as purifying your mind through your actions.
Purify the mind through action. I can kind of see that, but it also sounds a little overwhelming. Like, am I supposed to be analyzing every single thing I do?
Vivekananda isn't saying you have to be frozen in overthinking every little choice. It's more about bringing mindfulness to your actions. Understanding that you have choices, your actions matter, and aligning those actions with your values can make life way more fulfilling.
Okay, yeah, that feels more manageable.
Yeah.
So let's crack open this book, Karma Yoga. Where do we even begin?
Right off the bat, Chapter 1. Karma and its effect on character. Vivekananda throws down a bold statement. The goal of mankind is knowledge.
Hold up, isn't happiness the goal? That's what everyone's chasing, right?
He argues against that. He says happiness, pleasure, it's fleeting. True fulfillment comes from seeking knowledge and understanding.
Interesting. So it's not about feeling good, it's about, I don't know, expanding your mind.
He's saying knowledge isn't something you just download from a book. It's something you uncover within yourself through experience, through everything, even the tough stuff. Joy, sorrow, wins, losses, they all teach us.
Embrace the struggle. That's where the real learning is. Makes sense.
He even uses this cool analogy. He compares our character to a wave. He says, just like a wave is made up of millions of tiny waves, our character is formed by all the little things we do every day, not just the big dramatic moments.
So it's the everyday choices that matter most. Every little action creates a ripple.
Exactly. Pay attention to those ripples because they're shaping who you become. But how do we know which actions to take, which ripples to make? That's where duty comes in Chapter 2. Each is great in his own place. He dives into how we figure out our obligations, what we're meant to do in the world.
Duty, that word always makes me think of rules and expectations.
Vivekananda's take is way more nuanced than that. He says our idea of duty changes depending on where we are in life.
So what's my duty now might not be my duty 10 years from now.
Exactly. And he's big on this. Master the duties you have right now before reaching for something bigger. It's like leveling up in a video game. You got to conquer this level before moving on.
Makes sense. So if I'm feeling lost, unsure of my purpose, the first step is to focus on the responsibilities I already have.
Right. It's about embracing the present moment, doing what's in front of you, no matter how small it seems, because that's where true growth happens.
That's a good reminder. It's so easy to get caught up in the what's next and forget the power of right now. This reminds me of that story about the monk and the housewife.
Oh, you mean the one where this young monk, a sannyasin, thinks he's reached peak spirituality because of his yogic powers?
Yeah, and then he meets this ordinary housewife who's way more spiritually advanced than him, simply by fulfilling her everyday duties.
And she even points into someone even lower on the social ladder for further learning. Shatters his ego completely.
It shows that spirituality isn't about how fancy your rituals are or how impressive your powers seem. It's about showing up in your life, doing what needs to be done with full dedication.
It's not about the what, it's about the how. Even washing dishes can be an act of deep spiritual practice if you approach it with the right mindset.
Love that. Okay, so it's about bringing intention to everything we do.
Yeah.
But there's this other piece that's kind of trippy to me, this idea that when we do good, we're actually helping ourselves more than the world. How does that work?
It challenges that whole savior complex we sometimes have that we're here to fix the world. Vivekananda says the world doesn't actually need our help.
Wait, really? But there's so much wrong with the world. Surely we need to do something.
He's not saying don't care, don't act. He's shifting the focus. It's not about achieving some grand outcome. It's about how our actions change us internally.
So less about fixing the world, more about refining ourselves.
Exactly. When we do good without needing a pat on the back, when we detach from the outcome, that's what purifies our minds. We evolve spiritually.
So even if our actions don't have a huge impact on the world, they're still impacting us deeply.
Think of it like planting seeds. You don't always see the fruit right away, but those seeds are shaping the landscape, right? Same with our actions.
Beautiful. So it's not about withdrawing from the world, but engaging with it differently with a new intention.
He uses this phrase that I love. Work is a form of worship.
Work is worship. I'm digging that.
Yeah.
It makes even the most boring tasks feel meaningful. Okay, but how does this connect to non-attachment? Isn't it human nature to want things to go a certain way?
That's the heart of it, chapter 6. Non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. And you're right, it's one of the toughest parts of Karma Yoga, but it's also the key to real freedom.
Freedom. But how does letting go of control give you more freedom?
Vivekananda says true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about freeing yourself from the dictatorship of your desires.
So less about indulging every whim, more about mastering your mind.
Exactly. True happiness, deep down, it doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from within.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. But this non-attachment thing, it sounds so hard. Where do you even start?
It's a journey, no doubt. But Vivekananda has some practical tips for us, and that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
I'm ready. Let's keep going.
Welcome back to Deep Dive, ready to go even deeper with Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga.
I'm ready. Last time, we got a good foundation. The world is a moral gymnasium, knowledge being the true goal, the importance of duty. But now let's tackle non-attachment. That's the one I'm still wrapping my head around.
Vivekananda jumps right into that in chapter 6. Non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. And he ties it to this idea of letting go of the ego, that limited self, surrendering to something bigger.
I hear ego death all the time, especially in spiritual circles, but honestly, it kind of freaks me out. Does it mean we have to become like emotionless robots?
Not at all. It's not about denying your feelings or individuality. Think of it more like recognizing that your true self is way more vast, way more expansive than that little ego you usually identify with.
So like shedding a skin and revealing a deeper self underneath.
Yeah, like that. And Vivekananda is clear that this self-abnegation, this ego surrender, it's not a one-time thing, it's a constant practice. You become aware of those ego-grabby tendencies, the clinging, the controlling, and you learn to let go.
Like building a spiritual muscle. The more you practice letting go, the stronger you get. But how do you actually do that when life throws you curveballs?
It's tough, no doubt. Remember that idea of dedicating your actions to something higher? That's a huge part of it.
Right, shifting your motivation from me to something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. And cultivating acceptance. You can't always control outcomes, right?
Okay, so do your best, put in the effort, but also accept that you can't force things.
And that acceptance, kind of paradoxically, that's what frees you from the suffering of clinging to results.
So it's like letting go of the reins a little, trusting that life has a plan, and just focusing on doing your part with integrity. But doesn't that lead to, I don't know, complacency? Like, if you just accept everything, won't you lose the drive to make things better?
Good question. Vivekananda is clear that non-attachment isn't about being passive or indifferent. It's about acting with clarity and purpose, but without being chained to the results.
Finding that balance between effort and surrender. It's like we're dancing with life, not trying to choreograph every single step. We respond to the music, to the challenges, but we don't get caught up in thinking we're the puppet master.
That's a great way to put it. And Vivekananda connects this to freedom. In chapter 7, he says, true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about freedom from the tyranny of your desires.
Inner freedom, not just outer freedom.
Exactly. You become the master of your own mind, not a slave to every craving and impulse. He even says that when you let go of attachment, you actually open yourself up to deeper joy and peace that doesn't depend on external stuff.
That's what's so mind-blowing about non-attachment. The more you let go, the more you gain inner peace, freedom, deeper understanding. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we become these non-attached, free, joyful people?
Well, chapter 8, the ideal of Karma Yoga, that's where Vivekananda lays it all out. He gives us a picture of the Karma Yogi, the embodiment of all these teachings in action.
So paint me a picture. What does this Karma Yogi look like? Are we talking like a monk in a cave meditating 24/7?
Not necessarily. Remember, Karma Yoga isn't about escaping the world. It's about engaging with it skillfully. The ideal Karma Yogi moves through the world with purpose. They do their duties with dedication, but without that clinginess. They see every action, every interaction as a chance to practice.
It's the how, not just the what.
Yes. And remember, work as worship. The Karma Yogi sees everything as an offering. Even the most mundane tasks become acts of service.
They're like spiritual athletes, training in the moral gym of life. Sounds pretty inspiring, but also a bit intimidating. Can anyone actually live like this?
Vivekananda admits it's not easy, but he also reminds us that we don't have to be perfect to start. The journey of 1,000 miles, right? It all starts with a single step. Just make the effort, keep practicing, and even your stumbles become lessons.
Progress, not perfection. And wouldn't you know it, Vivekananda has the perfect example of the ideal Karma Yogi, Buddha.
Ah, yes, Buddha. He gave up everything, dedicated his life to helping others, and reached enlightenment, not by hiding away, but through compassion and selfless service.
Buddha never claimed to be a god or anything. He was just pointing the way, encouraging people to find their own truth. And he really embodies that non-attachment, right? No ego tripping, just pure dedication to helping others find freedom from suffering.
Absolutely. And Vivekananda saw in Buddha the power of selfless action, the reminder that true greatness isn't about power or wealth. It's about that unwavering commitment to the well-being of all beings.
That's what I love about exploring Karma Yoga. It's not just some heady philosophy. It's about living a life that matters, a life of purpose, meaning, service, knowing your actions have ripples. Even the smallest act of kindness can make a difference.
And that we're all connected, part of something much bigger than ourselves. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Karma, duty, non-attachment, work as worship, selfless action. But how do we actually live this? How do we take it from the book into our everyday lives?
That's the million-dollar question. And thankfully, Vivekananda has some answers for us. That's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. We've been wrestling with Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga. And, it's really hit me that this isn't just some ancient philosophy. It feels so relevant to how we live now in this crazy modern world.
It is. It's like a practical manual for how to act, how to find meaning when everything feels chaotic.
Right. We've talked about knowledge as the true goal, not just chasing happiness, and how even our small duties matter, plus that big one, non-attachment. But now I want to get to the nitty-gritty. How do we actually live as Karma Yogis? Like, what does that look like day to day?
The cool thing is Vivekananda doesn't just throw these big ideas at us and then peace out. He actually gives us some surprisingly down-to-earth advice.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the secret formula? How do we become Karma Yogis in our regular lives?
He starts by reminding us that this Karma Yoga thing, it's not like you reach a finish line and you're done. It's a journey. It's about practice, showing up every day, even when you mess up.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah, exactly. And he's big on self-awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, what you're actually doing.
So it's like becoming a scientist of your own mind. Noticing your patterns, where you get stuck.
Yeah, like that. He says, start by figuring out what you're really clinging to, what outcomes you're attached to, and then try to loosen your grip a little.
So not yanking on the knot, just slowly untangling it.
Perfect analogy. And remember dedicating your actions to something bigger. That helps a ton to shift from me to something more meaningful.
Right. Shine the spotlight outward instead of just on yourself.
He also talks about cultivating equanimity. Basically, staying calm and centered even when stuff hits the fan.
Easier said than done, right? Especially these days, we're always plugged in, bombarded with information.
He knew that. He says real peace isn't about running away from challenges, it's about building inner resilience, being able to ride the waves without getting swept away.
Like building an inner fortress that can handle anything.
And that strength comes from practice. Consistently aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with your values.
Like training for a marathon, not a sprint. This is a long game.
And don't forget to find the joy in the doing, not just the achieving. Remember, work as worship. Get in the flow, even with simple tasks.
Right, bring that mindfulness to everything, even washing dishes.
He's big on service too, using your skills, your resources to help others.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're all connected.
So it's not just about me leveling up, it's about making a positive impact on the world around me.
He says every action has ripple effects, so even small acts of kindness matter.
Like throwing a pebble in a pond, those ripples go far.
And he says the world is a reflection of ourselves. So by changing ourselves, we change the world bit by bit.
So don't wait for someone else to fix things.
Yeah.
Take responsibility, know that your actions have power.
And at the end of the day, the whole point of Karma Yoga isn't about getting some reward. It's about realizing your true nature, that spark of divinity within.
That's what's so powerful about all this. Vivekananda's offering a way to break free, not just from external stuff, but from that inner turmoil we all feel sometimes.
It's a journey of self-discovery, shedding those layers that hold you back from your full potential.
So Karma Yoga, it's not just a philosophy, it's a way of life. Showing up with intention, acting with purpose, serving others with compassion, living in alignment with your values.
Every moment is a chance to grow. Every challenge is a lesson. Every interaction is a chance to practice love and kindness.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga, I'm feeling really inspired. It reminds me that we all have the power to make the world a better place, not through some huge dramatic act, but through the daily work of living with purpose and meaning.
May Swami Vivekananda's teachings guide you on your own journey to freedom, fulfillment, and self-realization.
And join us next time as we explore more fascinating ideas from the world of yoga and spirituality. Until then, keep diving deep and let those ripples of your actions create a more just and compassionate world.